see some of the products that we do within the professional displays and solutions department. One of the ones I wanted to talk about here today was our PTZ cameras that we've got as well. Now these can be used for people tracking. So they've got a very advanced AI element in them, which when you select somebody within the GUI that we've got, it will then track that person wherever they are in, say, the factory or the warehouse. So if you wanted to keep tabs on people or just get a general overview of what's going on, we have that ability with our cameras. I also wanted to discuss primarily around the displays that we've got here as well. So within factories and warehouses, you've obviously collecting all this wonderful data from all these different companies that are here. You want to be able to display that data as well. You want to show people, perhaps it's statistics, data on what's been packed, or even just general information as well. And the screens that Sony have fit very well into this particular scenario. We've got screens that range from 32-inch up to 98-inch. But some of the key elements that we've got are the fact that we've got very, very high bright screens as well. But we've also got the best thing we've got on our screens in this scenario is our deep black non-glare technology. So of course in most of the warehouse and factory environments, you've got the bright light shining down. A lot of screens, if you haven't got the anti-glare on it, you then just get the light reflecting and people might not see all the information that's on the screen. And I'll be able to show you an example of this technology we've got over there. So once I'm finished or once we get a break, come over and I'll be able to show that to you. But what it means is your users get to see all of that information that's on the screen. You're not worried about anything being blocked out by light reflecting. Just a few details there. It's just a little bit of information on the deep black non-glare that we've got there. So there's different types that some of the competition have, but the Sony one is at the end there. It's light coming in, very little light is reflected out. We actually have a 47% haze, which is a technical term for it, against competition, which only has about 25%. But like I say, afterwards, feel free to come over. We've got examples there so we can actually show it to you so you can see it working. Some of the other technologies that we've got, we have a product called TEOS. Now this is basically workplace management. So we do everything from visitor management, wayfinding, digital signage, so it can obviously pull in all those statistics, put them up on the screen there. Room booking, meeting rooms, all of those different sorts of workplace technology solutions. We have all of that incorporated into our TEOS package, which runs off of our screens. So one other thing I wanted to talk about quickly was Sony's sustainability initiative. Obviously, there's lots of different choices of screens out there. We've got certain technologies that we think puts us in the leading forefront of screen manufacturers. But one of the key elements people are talking about these days is sustainability. Sony, as a company, from a group level, is doing, they've got their Road to Zero message. And effectively what they're looking to do is have a zero environmental footprint by 2050. And they're doing this with a number of different stages. The first stage by 2030 is to go to 100% renewable energy. By 2040, they're going to have zero carbon emissions in all of their establishments. And by 2050, they're going to use zero virgin plastics in all of their products. So couple these all together and it's a zero environmental footprint by 2050. And this is something which is obviously coming from Sony Group level. It then comes down to Sony Corporation and down to our division here as well. They're doing a number of other things with regards to what we call making it, moving it and using it around sustainability. With making it, as mentioned, by 2050 it will be zero virgin plastics. But in the meanwhile, up until then, we're using something called Sorplast, which is actually a 99% recycled plastic. These days, if you buy something and it says, oh, you know, this is made of recycled plastic, it only has to have 30% recycled plastic in it, whereas Sony's already at 99%. Plus, it can be recycled over and over again. It can be recycled up to 7 times in total. So Sony's really, you know, pushing towards sustainability. Moving it. Packaging, we've reduced all our packaging, we've reduced the size, which obviously means you can get more units on a pallet, more on a truck, reducing our CO2 emissions. But I think probably the most important one that we're seeing, and especially for people here today, is around the using it. So using it, the electricity consumption on a screen, people don't often think about that. You know, you think, oh, you buy the screen, that's the cost. We concentrate quite heavily on this now because using a Sony screen can save you, on some of the larger screens, up to 63% compared with some of the other companies out there. On average, we're between 20 and 30% cheaper to run than the other screens out there, which when you couple that over a 5-year period, 16/7 use, let's say in a factory, we've actually got a total cost of ownership calculator, so you can see exactly how much you could save by using Sony screens. Reliability as well, coming down to sustainability. You don't want to buy a screen that's going to break in a few years' time or stop working. Sony, on the life cycle and the durability, we're up there top. So again, it comes down to, you know, the quality of the Sony products that we've got. And the final slide, and we can show you this in more detail, this is the total cost of ownership that I mentioned, which shows the power consumption for all of our different screens against the competition ones there. And just for instance, our 98-inch screen there, we use 154 watts. Some of the competition is using over 400. So there really is a big cost saving to be made by using Sony screens. And it was just a very brief one, just we've managed to fit a few extra minutes in here. Anything I've missed, Carl?
Cameras. So I know you mentioned it briefly. We've just done a proof of concept with one of our partners for using the Sony cameras on packing benches and on loading bay doors, so that we can capture at the point that we're loading and dispatching and packing, and then post all that data back to your ERP system, so that if somebody, a customer, complains about state of the product or something wasn't in the box that it shouldn't have been, instead of what typically tends to happen is somebody goes back into some CCTV footage manually, finds the time and date when it was packed, then has to stick it, pull it out, and then send it to the end user. We can automate that now and do it all and post it back to a central location, so that when that inquiry does come in, it's in a location ready to go. So that was using the Sony kits. That's you know, real life examples of all the things that you can use that technology for.
Excellent, thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Any questions? No? Come and have a chat to us. We've got the kit there so you can see it in all working. Excellent, thank you guys.